Welcome, everyone. Throughout this conference, we've been hearing some main themes that keep emerging, and three of them that feel critical and vital to the times that we live in are integration, embodiment, and creativity. There's this need to understand kind of the way that many different variations and differentiations can work together. There's a way that we need to understand how we live that and how the actions that we take reflect that. And there's a way that we need to be creative, probably in unprecedented ways, to meet the multidimensional challenges and promises of our time. And so I am so delighted whenever we have one of these sessions where we are looking at the interface and the intersection between the wisdom of the Enneagram and another great discipline or field of endeavor that has wisdom to offer the world, because it's just like, how can we enhance the gifts of each from the other? And so I'm thrilled to be having a session about the intersection, the interface between Qigong and the Enneagram. The session is called The Marriage of Qigong and the Enneagram for Embodiment and Flowing Life Force. And my delight is magnified by our speaker, by our teacher today. Kathy Jankowski is a long-time practitioner, a long-time learner and studier of what it is to be fully awake and fully alive and coming from embodied, awakened consciousness. I happen to know her, and she has tremendous background in working with teams, working with leaders of organizations, working with philanthropists from a heart-based centered way of contributing to the world. She has training in breath work, breath coaching. She's also a certified Qigong teacher. She's a certified Enneagram teacher, and so much more. And Kathy, we are in your good hands to hear about this wonderful way that the wisdom of the Enneagram can be enhanced in people's experience through the practices of Qigong. So welcome.
Well, thank you, Jessica, and thank you for those kind words. I am truly grateful to be here today and to be sharing the ways that a Qigong practice is really something that will help Enneagram practitioners, take their entire practice to the next level. It's a true game changer.
Beautiful. So let's start with understanding, for those that are new to it, what is Qigong and what is the transformational potential with Qigong?
So Qigong is a practice. It has a history both in the martial arts and in the healing arts. And I'm a Robert Peng Qigong trainer, and our legacy is with the Shaolin Temple and in the healing arts tradition. And Qi is life force and Gong is cultivate. So a Qigong practice is the practice of cultivating a direct experience of the life force. And in many ways, that's what the Enneagram is, right? And so our work in Qigong is we use movement, visualization, and breath work in order to create a more energetic connection to the direct experience of the life force manifesting in all of its desire to organize into the most perfect pattern possible. So the energy of the life force is always optimizing and sustaining and generating and moving. And so anyone who has spent any time with the Enneagram and learned to apply it, we know that it's a useful tool to understand our personalities, our personality, our strengths, and our challenges. And it helps us examine and understand how we relate to ourselves and to others and to our world. But most importantly, the Enneagram is a profound way to see and understand the stress that we all live under because of conditioning, unnecessary suffering, and a belief that we're all separate from each other. And so the Enneagram provides a way to unhook from this dangerous illusion and unconscious conditioning. So when we unhook, we opt out of this sort of stress-driven, separate self world. And the big question, though, for all of us, and what Qigong helps to answer is what are we opting in to? And well, it's truly, if we look at it, the willingness to be transformed, the willingness to be transformed by the life force. And so Enneagram practitioners go through 4 phases of transformation. And the first one is just self-remembering. It's like self-care for our soul. We see the stress we're under because of the conditioning and the illusion of separate self, and we realize we are so much more than our resistances and our contractions. And so this stage of the path is about remembering who we are and reducing our suffering. The second phase is observing ourselves in action, and really noticing what are our thoughts, feelings, and behaviors, paying attention and learning about what makes us feel alive. What makes us stressed out physically, emotionally, and mentally. And this stage is about growth, and it really takes practice. The third stage is action and acting, and making choices again and again to live a stress-free life. And this phase always involves change, or we like to say becoming, and new behaviors, strengthening relationships, being a lot more curious about how to continue to grow and develop. And at this phase is where healing is accomplished. We become resilient. Old patterns and conditioning that prop up the separate self fade away, and we say yes. We say yes to living a full, meaningful, and precious life. Now, the fourth stage is called inviting. And so beyond change, in this phase, we actively create a life, our life as we would like it to be, not just for ourselves, but for others and for the world. And we recognize at this phase, and we live from this phase, that there's a visceral, interwoven interconnection among everything. And we might call it the one, but it's so beyond the one, it's the life force itself. And so recognizing the gift of life in the life force, we choose to co-create and shape our lives fused to the wholeness that the life force is trying to optimize all of the time. And in the Enneagram, we call this like living from the higher states of consciousness, or embodying the holy ideas and the virtues. The thing about it is they're not concepts. They're an actual direct experience, very immediate and practical, and also yet timeless and inspiring. So transformation and the willingness to be transformed is not only about behavior change and stress reduction, it's also about growth and accepting, and the willingness to surrender to experiencing the life force as the thing that is making everything happen. So this invitation stage is often difficult to sustain. So what if there was a way to cultivate awareness about the energy, the direct experience of this phase of invitation? Well, then you build a bridge between your awareness and your unconditioned nature. And then you travel these 4 phases with the wind of the life force in your sails. And that's what Qigong is. It's the art of energy cultivation, and it helps us develop an energetic recognition of the life force within us, all around us, in the world. And we answer the invitation to return home to our true nature.
Exquisite. So, you can just really see the interface here between Enneagram and Qigong in many ways. And the first way that I want to talk about is the Enneagram teaches us the ways that we're contracting against the life force.
That's right.
It's literally like we're actively, although often unconsciously, mostly resisting the life force. So a lot of times the Enneagram, as you said, especially in that first stage, it can help us see how we're doing that. But what if we're also adding at the same time as we do that a direct experience of the life force? That's what you're talking about.
That's what I'm talking about, because if we don't do that, we put ourselves in the situation of the sort of ego trickery and backdrafts. If all we spend time on is transforming into a better version of separate self, of course we have a developmental improvement. And yet that's not what reality is. What reality is to surrender to the life force itself. So if what we do is then cultivate an awareness of how that feels in our three centers, and in Qigong, we have three centers that map directly to the Enneagram. We call them the Dantians. If we really, really learn to cultivate an awareness of the Dantian when we feel that shaky moment where, is this really happening? Am I really transforming? Am I really breaking conditionings? What can I trust? Is my heart really this deep and wide? Are my actions this really filled with potency? All of that is being held because we recognize, we've done the work to recognize and cultivate, yes, there is a holding that all of this is coming from. And so the backdraft, we don't fall back asleep. We can stay in the movement of the life force. We can stay in the movement of our lives. We can stay in the realization that this movement is completely customized to us. It's responsive, it's loving, it's intelligent, we're a dream come true to it, and it's a dream come true to us.
Wow, that's such a beautiful thought, that we are a dream come true to it, and it is a dream come true to us. So this is really fascinating. We start at the first level that you're talking about, of the growth that happens with the Enneagram. And we've already just talked about how releasing these contractions against the life force, if we're practicing Qigong, we're also getting a direction of where we're going. Like we're having an embodied experience of it. So that could really accelerate our awarenesses and our moving through that. And also just want to make a mention that this idea that we bring about stress, we think of stress as having to do with the conditions of our lives, but you're talking about essential stress.
Right.
Essential stress is the way that we are mistaking ourselves to be something other than we truly are, and it takes a lot of energy to prop up those false selves. And so I think that's a powerful orientation of looking at it.
Yes, it's right. I mean, we've fallen asleep, we've forgotten, and yet it's a total victory for the soul and for all sentient beings and all humanity. In Qigong, we say every moment you realize your true nature, you have shifted the field. And so we call it always Dantian. And even the minute you say, I am a Qigong practitioner, even if you haven't done the practice, just acknowledging and honoring the life force itself, you have shifted the field. And so the thing that's fascinating about the 4 phases of transformation is the 4th phase, the invitation phase, we experience ourselves and others in deeper and wider relationships. And lo and behold, there we are again, back at the first phase. I remember who I am. And then we observe, and then we practice and we change, and then we say yes once again to the deeper invitation. And so what's so beautiful about a practice at this level of consciousness is that anything that is stuck is not perceived as stuck. It's perceived as where we place our attention, because Qi wants to move and we happen to be the ones that can help it get going in the right direction. So we become true partners with the life force. And yet what the light force gives us, because of the honoring of that partnership, is we live, as Rilke says, we continue to live our life in widening circles. It's a beautiful, we all talk about the spiral of awakening. It's really true.
So it's powerful to see, Kathy, how with these different stages of growth for Enneagram practitioners, we can easily see now with the first stage, this contraction against the life force, we can have an immediate influx of feeling what happens when we are not doing that, right? But there's also the thing that you added about stress that I just want to, it's so beautiful how you put it, that we think of stress as conditional, like what's happening in our lives is making stress, but there's a much deeper stress. It's like an essential stress that has to do with our feeling separate from the life force itself. So reducing that by having the Qigong can really, I see how it could just accelerate our awareness through that first stage. And then when we go into the second stage, which is about growth, again, we're having the way that this could be enhancing and even accelerating our movement and awareness through the second stage is that, as you said, the Qi wants to move, it wants to grow. So we're having a visceral experience of the path of growth rather than having to conceptualize it, right?
Right, where we are already starting to grow, because what we're doing is we're asking ourselves what would be wise, using our head center, what would feel nourishing, what would help me know my value, heart center. And I see these patterns and what might be an action that I might take, gut center. So the growth period is it takes practice to learn, to discern, and to separate and untangle all the ways that we are experiencing separate self. But we have our Enneagram type, we have different roadmaps that we can use, and then what we're cultivating, like what you said, Jessica, is so important. It's like a pond that's got good inflow and good outflow.
Mm-hmm.
We need both.
And then when we move to the third phase, it's about, healing. Of course, all that growth then makes it possible for us to have the platform to attend to the ouches, to the hurts, to the wounds, to the traumas, of life that we've all experienced. And that can be enervating. It's like it takes a lot of focus, a lot of willingness, a lot of courage in a way to do that. And so I can easily see how, again, having the Qigong, having the life force right there with you would mean that you don't get depleted as easily, that you're able to attend to that healing more readily.
That's right. And so in this place of action, of sort of moving through with a sense of curiosity, well, what does make me feel more alive? What helps me feel like I belong? What would be the wisest decision? The life force is moving with us and through us, and we've encountered it and we've engaged it. And those are two different experiences. Like, we've encountered it, and then we're saying, okay, move with me. And it's in this place if all of us, I don't know, I used to like to look at stop motion videos of a little seed that's breaking open in the earth, and it's separating the dirt, and it's coming up through the dirt, and its two little leaves come up. And if you and I had that much energy, we could lift a car. Right? We could lift a car. It's that strong at this phase. So we begin to notice that there's something strong, unbreakable. It's not situational. But it's responsive, and it's got our back. It's nurturing us, and we're fusing with it. And so the most dangerous illusion is that we can use the separate self to walk the path of oneness. It's impossible, right? And so then we begin to identify. I say there's no longer a separate I or a separate you. I call it uni-you. Uni-you is starting to live in this world, and that's how healing takes place, because not only do we have the behavior change and the things that make us feel good, but we also have the capacity for our hearts and our heads to reckon with the human condition. And in reckoning with the human condition, a completely different awareness opens up.
I just love what you said. The separate self cannot walk the path of oneness. This is the thing we understand and talk about all the time, is that as long as we're in any contraction against the life force, the who is doing the path is going to be slanted. It's going to be split off, by the way, from other parts of itself. So it strikes me that this third phase is part of the healing, is that it's healing all of the intrapsychic splits where we're thinking, I'm this, but not that. I can have this quality, but not that quality. And it reminds me of, I will never forget one of the first times I ever did Qigong, I was led through this amazing practice where I was invited to move one part of my body in one direction and the other part of my body in another direction and in a flow. So it was just a constant thing of feeling how in every given moment I could be aware of different aspects of myself, seemingly different aspects of myself, and that there was a life force or a flow that was unifying all of that. So it strikes me that the Qigong practices would be very helpful in healing those intrapsychic splits where I think I can be strong but not vulnerable. I can be clear but not a dreamer, you know?
Right. And the split is healed because of what you just described is we become cleared out. We empty ourselves. And in that place of being emptied, we realize we've done all these practices to also receive the awareness of essential states. And when we allow ourselves and give permission to the chi to seep into every single cell in our body, we will have the experience that we need to have. We will receive the impressions that we need to have. We will begin to have this dialogue that, Rumi says, this love has whispered secrets in your ear that nobody else understands. You know who you are. You are a shining star.
Mm-hmm.
So because you were so willing to empty out anything that was in the way, then there it came. And then you could actually experience reality that if we actually doubted it was going on, if there's no way I can do all that. But, with the life force, all things are possible.
With the life force, all things are possible. So we're in the fourth phase now. And, what is just so crystal clear is that the Enneagram and Qigong are both an invitation into non-fixated consciousness, a highly emergent consciousness that is creative. It's highly creative. And so it has both the personal attunement of each of us, it's completely unique. And it has the attunement of what is needed in this moment. I just love that. And I think the flow of Qigong can really help us embody that, correct?
Well, it's the flow that is that, right? And so it's the flow that is that. There's a way that where attention goes, chi follows. So if we pay a lot of attention to cultivating awareness of the life force, and like I said, we have 3 dantians. All 3 dantians are in our body. All of them have their own really unique sensations. The more you work with your dantians, you can even taste them. They have their own flavors. And so the energy is differentiating, right? But it's also mixing and dancing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's in this mixing and dancing that we experiencing at a deep sense of the personal, that we are completely understanding that we are part of the universal right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what Dantian means. A Dantian is an elixir field. And usually that would be how could something be elixir and a field? Well, it is. Because each of our Dantians, each of our centers of awareness, at the center of them is the actual elixir and essence of the life force in the manifestation of our gut, our heart, or head. And yet around it is this golden wheel, a field of energy that's moving out from us into the world. And so these elixir fields in the Dantians are what we would call the sort of illuminated instincts,
Mm-hmm.
the virtues, and the holy ideas.
Mm-hmm.
And what Qigong has to support what you're talking about, Jessica, in this fourth phase is something that we call the Central Meridian. So we have an energy channel that runs from the top of our head to our perineum, and it crosses all of our dantians, right? And we cultivate an awareness of each of the dantians, but we also cultivate an awareness of the Central Meridian because it's the way that the dantians communicate with each other. And when it's uncultivated, it's like a 2-lane road with broken down vehicles and too much traffic. But if we cultivate an awareness of the experience of the ways that we have energy that wants to move within us, we are the intelligences of each of our dantians. It's why, how can there be a heart type in the head center kind of thing? Well, because the intelligences are all talking to each other. The thing about the Central Meridian that really, really, really helps, though, Enneagram practitioners is that it's not only just within our body. So as we cultivate it, it gets wider. So it turns into a super highway, like a 5-6 lane highway in both directions, and energy can flow. Well, how did that happen? How do we cultivate it? The Central Meridian shoots out of the top of our head up into the heavens, connecting us to heaven chi, inspiration, sort of cosmic consciousness. And then it shoots out through our perineum deep into the center of the earth, connecting us to earth chi, fire, wind, and water, biological, very, very grounded energy. And when we accept the existence of the Central Meridian, the 3 dantians, which are like wild horses, even when they're healthy, they're all going in 3 different directions. The Central Meridian then comes in and allows them to speak to each other, but we also speak to heaven and we speak to earth. These are the vertical and horizontal dimensions of reality that we're all talking about. What does it mean to develop vertically and horizontally? The Central Meridian can help answer that question because it harnesses us and it harnesses the dantians to the present moment. It's a bit of a singularity because it's the present moment is as it was in the beginning, is now, and ever shall be.
Kathy, I'm thrilled to the marrow for so many reasons. And of course, one of them, as you know, dear to my heart, is that you actually used the term the illuminated instincts, which is an orientation and term that I've offered to the field a number of years ago. And more than that, you're saying, as I feel, that we shouldn't be creating hierarchy with the centers. And there's still a tendency to do that, that is part of what ails the human species. It's part of what ails us as individuals. And I just love that Qigong just doesn't even have that. It knows that all 3 centers have an equivalent intelligence to play, and all 3 are higher consciousness. And that seems something very revolutionary, that you're, by bringing Qigong theory into an interface with the Enneagram, it can actually give us an embodied experience of that.
Well, and this is very, very important because we call the upper dantian is our golden wheel of wisdom. The middle dantian is our golden wheel of love chi, wisdom chi, love chi, and our lower dantian is our golden wheel of vitality chi. All of them are important. They're the 3 treasures of being a human. And then when we connect to our Central Meridian and really can then, our hands are like magnets and we reach out into the heavens. I remember we do a lot of visualization, and our magnet hands attract the right chi, right? Because they know what to do. And so we reach out into the inspiring heavens. We're anchored to the grounded earth. Those are our 3 treasures too: heaven, earth, and human chi. And all of these treasures are pointing to and in a relationship with universal chi. What the Tao would call the form and the formless, out of which everything is emergent and creative and embodied, right? So we do not embody it. We allow ourselves to be transformed, and embodiment does us.
Beautiful. Well, I think that it will be a great gift to everyone for you to take us through some practices now.
I'd love to. And I just want to say that the one wheel I didn't mention is the Central Meridian is called the Wheel of Harmony. So unless we learn to cultivate a direct experience of cosmic consciousness and of real earth chi, and some spiritual traditions have a preference for the cosmic consciousness. Some spiritual traditions have a consciousness more for the nature and biological. That's also not hierarchical with Qigong. We need all of them moving through human chi that is filled with dignity and potential and promise. And vitality. Well, we say vitality, wisdom, and love. So the practices I have put together for us, we're going to reorganize our chi to get it moving into the perfect pattern. And then we're going to do some movements that help us really sort of open up this flow of the chi that we're talking about within and without. And then I'm really excited to be doing with everyone here a practice called the Great Harmonizer Breath. And it's the one that really helps us reach out and harmonize the vertical and horizontal dimensions of reality as direct experience, and also touching the amazing holy ideas and virtues as fully manifested in every moment. And then finally, we'll do a practice that's called Nourishing Your Chi. And when we do Nourishing Our Chi, the very first thing we do, we'll put our hands on our lower dantian, on our gut center, and we'll bring all of our attention to our gut center. And I'm just saying this to say one of the things I love most about Qigong, because Jessica, you know I love the instincts, is Qigong cares very deeply about the instincts, just like the Enneagram. And if the lower dantian is resource, it's our fuel tank, if it's feeling good, everything else flows more smoothly, because we shift from our survival strategies into the reality that everything is here to grow and flower. Okay, so let me go ahead and I'm going to ask everyone to stand up, and then we'll do our practices. Okay, we're going to go ahead and start in what we call starting posture. So by coming into starting posture, we're sending a love letter to the divine unfolding, to the unified field, to the life force that we're going to honor the next few minutes by cultivating our awareness of it and welcoming it into every cell in our body. So feet are about shoulder width apart, and just make contact with the sensation of your feet on the ground. Contact with sensation, and you might even imagine that there are roots growing from the bottoms of your feet deep into the earth, breathing in earth chi. Scanning up, knees are unlocked, tailbone is tucked as if sitting on a tall stool, back gently curved like a willow branch. Beautiful, lengthening and deepening your breath. And now let's tense up our shoulders, breathing them up to our ears, and then relaxing them, sighing them down. Here we go. Breathing in. Again. Last time in. Beautiful. Just already feeling energy moving and changing. Continuing to scan up. Your tongue is resting gently on the roof of your mouth. And relaxing your jaw. Relaxing your eye sockets. Widen the space between your eyebrows. And listen to a sound coming from far, far away. Beautiful. Now let's shake. So this is called the first golden wheel. Beautiful. And we're just shaking off that first layer of actual consensus reality stress so we can get to healing the split of separate self-stress. So arms are like ropes at your side. Nice and easy, shaking up and down. And you're going to relax your neck and your throat. And if you wanted to, you could add some sound. Some people like to imagine they're on a trampoline and they're just enjoying themselves. It could be like, you could do that if you wanted to, or if not, just keep shaking. Beautiful. Feeling your feet. Beautiful. Now imagine over your head is a golden waterfall of light. It is streaming in through the top of your head, down through your torso, through your feet, and deep into the earth. So just keep imagining this golden waterfall of light streaming down through your torso, through your legs, and out through the bottoms of your feet, cleansing, purifying. Everything is starting to sparkle with light. And allowing this golden waterfall of light to wash away all negativity. Wash away all negativity. Beautiful. And now shake in front. Get your wrists going. Shake behind. Straight out. Out to the sides. Straight up. And down. And now coming to rest. Coming to rest and turning your attention inward. This golden light has washed all tiredness from your body. Breathing in, noticing the tingling sensations, and breathing out, allowing it to spread and saturate every cell in your body. Beautiful. And now raising your gaze and look in front of you all the way out to the horizon. And then slowly look closer and closer until your gaze rests about 10 feet in front of you. And notice the inner sensations as you move closer and closer to yourself. Beautiful. And now breathing in, raising your arms up. Beautiful. And now breathing out, turning. Gentle circulation. Breathing in, embracing heaven chi, and then breathing out, bringing it in. So you're lighting up your head, lighting up your heart, and lighting up your gut, and coming down. Beautiful. Keep going, nice and slow. Breathing in, now raising the life force, earth chi, gentle turn, circulating heaven and earth. Now breathing in and embracing heaven chi. And then breathing out, empowering yourself, lighting up. Beautiful. Now keep going at your own pace and keep relaxing your whole body as you do this. Nice and easy. And as you keep moving, just now imagining that it's your breath that is moving your hands up and down and turning. And your next time down, bringing your hands down in front of you and then turning them out, and now drawing them up, wrists relaxed, breathing in and then breathing out, palms out, slight bend of your knees. Beautiful. And as you are doing this, imagine that you are stroking a waterfall tenderly. You are breathing in, breathing out, tenderly stroking a waterfall. Beautiful. Coming up. Arms by your side, natural breathing, and rest. Rest here. Noticing sensation. You want to do a little scan of your dantians and the Central Meridian. Just noticing your vitality chi, your love chi, your wisdom chi, your harmony chi. Beautiful. And now we're going to do the Great Harmonizer Breath. So let's take a good inhale and exhale together, breathing in and breathing out. Put your hands in like a little shelf right in front of your lower dantian. Beautiful. Now breathing in, turning your hands out and stretching way up over your head, creating a shelf and stretching way up. Now breathing out, your hands go wide and you're going to twirl your wrists 4 times. Beautiful. Back to shelf, and now breathing in again and stretching up. And breathing out, fingertips go wide and you imagine you are touching the horizons. You're a giant. Beautiful. Breathing in, going wide and turning your hands into crane beaks. Beautiful. Coming up right over your head. And then breathing out, stabilizing in your knees, flat back, arms go back. Beautiful. Breathing in, step your legs together and swoop up. Now reaching all the way up into the heavens and feeling the center of the earth. And now breathing out, elbows come down and push. Beautiful. Breathing in, pull. And breathing out, push. And open your stance back up. Let's do it one more time. Breathing in and stretching up. Breathing out, 4 twirls. Breathing in again and stretching up, relaxing your whole body. Breathing out, arms go wide. Beautiful. Breathing in, crane beak hands, back up over your head. Breathing out, flat back, knees slightly bend, chin up, arms go back. Breathing in, step and swoop. Beautiful. Breathing out, elbows come down and push. Breathing in, pull. And breathing out, once again, pushing and opening your stance and putting both of your hands on your lower dantian. Turning your attention inward. Keeping your gaze lowered. Nourish your chi. Nourish your chi. Nourish your energy. Imagine that you are like a sponge floating in a hot tub. Open all of your pores and allow the chi to seep into every tiny particle in you. Tell yourself, I am in Qi. Qi is in me. Chinese blessing. Ren Zai Qi Zhong. Qi Zai Ren Zhong. I am in Qi. Qi is in me. Imagine you are like a boat floating with the gentle waves of the ocean of the Qi. Floating on the vast ocean of the Qi up and down and slowly vanishing into the mist of the ocean. am Chi. Chi is in me. Beautiful. And as this practice comes to a close, let's take 3 deep breaths together, sighing out with contentment. Breathing in. Again, breathing in. Last time in. When you are ready, raising your gaze and turning your attention, embracing the life force, flowing with the life force, and turning toward the rest of your day.
Kathy, what a magnificent treat that is for everyone. And I can just imagine how even many very long time Enneagram practitioners, even for decades, could be feeling the way that all of their knowledge, all of their learning, all of their sense of what the real self is, what the authentic self is, finds a way into the body through those practices. So I really want to thank you. I was aware, I was deeply appreciating while we were doing those about the integration over time, over the expanse of time too, because I was thinking about the origins of the Enneagram and how, though we find it, mostly in the Middle East and the West, it does seem like in those initial times with the Desert Fathers and maybe further back, even into Egypt and other places, there were embodiment practices that went with it. And then Gurdjieff picked that up and had the movements more than even the concepts. And then we had to go through this period of really awakening and illuminating the head center in terms of the Enneagram and understanding its psychological ramifications, understanding, like the Jesuits, and then coming into Naranjo and Ichazo and Palmer and Daniels and Riso and Hudson. All of that had to be explicated. And then there became a movement, as you know, where we've started to integrate more about breath and about embodiment practices and experiential. And I somehow just love that here we are today, and there's this amazing practice from the East, from the ancient East that directly correlates with the wisdom of the Enneagram.
Jessica, it is a complete map, and it's over 3,000 years old. Mm-hmm. And then it speaks to the power of the life force because everything is pointing toward the same thing. And that which we seek is seeking us. And the times call for what you're saying, the creativity to understand what it looks like for the times that we're in. Mm-hmm. And one of the true treasures, I think, of a Qigong practice, and also for an Enneagram practitioner who wants to be a part of not just their life becoming more vital and filled with love and meaningful participation, but they see the world needs this kind of consciousness, is that in the Enneagram, we talk about coming home. we are disidentified with the contractions, but that doesn't mean I'm going to turn into something else than who I am. I'm going to be who I am, right? So we need each of us with the gifts and trusting the guidance of the divine unfolding that said, your gifts are necessary for the time that you're in. Mm-hmm. The way that she organizes through you is necessary for the time that we're in. And then from there in Qigong, we say, we become a spiritual master. But a spiritual master is just a true person. It's a true person. Mm-hmm. And it's accepting what it means to bloom where we're planted. Mm-hmm. And to realize none of us can do it on our own. We're always all doing it. You know, the Qi might speak in silence, but it also speaks through how we relate to ourselves, others, the whole, and the divine unfolding all at once.
To bloom right where we are reminds me of the line from the Rumi poem about how what's being said to the rose that makes it open and all that is being said to me here right now inside of my chest. It's all about the flowering, and I really want to thank you for your years of devoted practice and study and vision that has led to the offering of this wonderful session for everyone around the globe.
Well, thank you, Jessica. And, you know, I thank you for being one of my masters. So thank you for the role that you've played along the path and the role that you play as someone who has brought the Enneagram out into the world. You had a vision many years ago, and I appreciate the Shift Network and your partnership with them and your willingness to, really become a Shen Ren about all the different approaches and all the different ways. And so I appreciate this opportunity to help synthesize all of that into maybe the next phase, the breath, the visualization, the movement of the life force, true embodiment. It's going to come one way or the other. It's just, can we, like you say, accelerate it?
Can we accelerate it? And I hope that this session has accelerated it for everybody and given you possibilities and doorways of how that can happen, because there is a place of harmony that acknowledges and supports the uniqueness of each of us. So thank you, Kathy, and thank you everybody out there who's studying right now and practicing. This is for our world. Thank you.